Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. I'm filming again on a nice, slightly windy day 2 weeks after the last time I visited this site. It's going to be longer than a week before it's uploaded. This isn't where I'm filming today, no point. I don't think I missed much worth finding last time, and what I did find, someone else has picked up in the week between the video going live and filming today. I'm so curious as to who that was. Was it somebody watching my video? Even the bottle hidden behind a tree near the wall at the bottom of the site is gone, so whoever it was, and if you're watching, did you use my video as a map? I'm not even remotely upset, just bemused and curious. Today I'm going to another dump site. I don't think I can see where it is from here. It's not particularly far, just behind a bend in the valley. I will take the things I like. I have gloves and a bag. I'll quarantine things when I get home, and if I have the energy, I might drop down to the Riverside for a quick mudlark afterwards. As I'm taking a short break from walking, I'd like to give thanks for some of the generosity I've been receiving lately. People have been very kind on Ko-fi, and I've now been given almost enough to buy a new camera. I'd like to thank everyone who's kindly donated, in particular Lynn, Nancy, Marina, Robin and Thea, who've all been supportive over many months. I'm very grateful to everyone. Thanks also to Leaf of Adirondack Wilderness Co., I hope I pronounced that okay, who sent me some patches which I'll put on my next rucksack. He has a YouTube channel of the same name, link in the description, and he makes some wonderful bushcraft things. Thanks to Beth, who sent me a hygienic feeder bottle in great condition. Thanks also to Rosalind, who's very kindly bought me a very bright head torch off my Amazon wish list, which will come in very handy when I try to film in tunnels. And finally, thanks to everyone who's liked my videos and commented, and I'm so sorry that I can't answer every comment anymore. I tried to keep doing it for as long as I possibly could, and now it's all gone and gotten too much for me to cope with. I do still read every comment, and I am thankful for them. Onwards. I'm starting to think that it's perhaps a little unwise to have chosen the route I'm on, which now takes me up out of the woods and over the fields with no shade when the sun is still high in the sky. If I'm not careful, I'm liable to get sunburnt. This path over this hill is a small section of the Pennine Way, a 268-mile hill walking route usually said to start in Edale in the Peak District and ending just over the Scottish border in Kirk-Yeafulm. I think I would like to attempt walking the whole 268 miles one day, if for no other reason than I've never done a really long distance walk before, and yet, as part of my travel dreams, I've always fancied walking the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail, and, now that it exists, the Greater Patagonian Trail. They're a dream at the moment, ethereal and beyond what I could currently accomplish, but this is on my doorstep, and attempting it would either crystallise my dreams into something I feel I have to aim for and do, or show me that long-distance walking isn't really to my taste. I would still want to travel, but perhaps by motorised vehicles instead. It would also, perhaps, make for an interesting series of videos. Two swallows dancing in the air. Such grace. This track, it's been so long since I've walked it. About 20 years. And about 30 years since I played here with my childhood best friend, who's still a nice guy, but our paths diverged at high school, and now if we bump into each other, there's no easy flow of conversation. The place we're going today is actually part of where we played as children, building dens in the woods, exploring and digging out bottles and things from the dump site with sticks and our bare hands. It's not a huge dump site, and most of the things in it came from the farming community on the hills, and hilltop farming not being a well-paid lifestyle here in the early 20th century, there's not likely to be any spectacular treasures. But the things we found did seem like treasure to children, and my current activities have been shaped by what I enjoyed as a child. Here we go. It looks a bit like I'm walking through someone's garden and yard, but the pathway here is old. Probably not as old as the earliest mills, but likely 18th century or earlier. I have no idea how someone ever got this caravan parked here, but I like it. Oh, this is an odd little hut. I think it could possibly have been a cold store, with any heat swept away by the stream that flows underneath it. Or, of course, an outhouse. Both would have a hole in the floor, too much detritus to see if there is one that's been blocked up, and it's somebody's shed, so I won't try to excavate. This is an eccentricity I appreciate. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they did. Now these boots have nowhere left, and are going to be home for plants and insects instead, and perhaps a small mammal or two. Bottom of the two openings is the original stream path, some of it still being diverted to the top opening. Glad to see that maintenance on the structure has been kept up. This is a rare survivor. I don't know if any other like it in the area. Perhaps someone watching might know of one or two. Can't see anything in the stream of particular interest, just a rusty iron bar about 10 metres down. Might still be worth climbing it one day. There's plenty of times that empty-looking streams have had a few good things to find in, and I do enjoy climbing up steep cascades of waterfalls. Do let me know if you'd like me to attempt filming such an ascent. Probably not this one to start with, as it's quite far from home and my current lockdown address, but there's one that's closer and possibly prettier. I'm not sure how much of this to film. Maybe for those of you who want to watch a peaceful walk through the woods, I shall film a few more minutes, maybe a montage, and those of you who prefer to get straight to the bottle dump exploration can skip to... foxglove or Digitalis purpurea, perhaps the most poisonous plant in the local area. When 3/4 of the flowers are blooming is the time to harvest if you want the highest concentration of the active compounds. Digitalis is not just a poison though. It's an effective medicine for treating congestive heart failure and atrial arrhythmias, and has been used in medicine since the earliest beginnings of modern medicine, and almost certainly used by herbal healers and poisoners for millennia before that. There's a lot of them here. I usually see the odd one or two in woods and higher concentrations in more exposed, sunny places, but I do think this wood would be a perfectly pleasant place to take root if I were a plant. Still no sign of vintage glass or pottery pieces. Only some old fencing visible down there. Would still be quite a climb up. Would need to increase my current fitness level to attempt it. Thought I caught the olfactory trace of some wild garlic, though can't actually see any, so if there is some there, it's a small patch. I think this was once a homestead, more of a farmhouse than mill cottages. Looks just about possible that just down the hill was fields, but ever so steep. If it was a small holding, they must have had things very hard. Perhaps it was both. There have been mills near here since before the Industrial Revolution got into full swing. Farmers' children might have worked in the mills to keep up with the costs of living. Ooh, her room survives, carrying a tree that looks like it's probably 200 or more years old. Possibly a larder or a hen house. Anyone know for sure? Anyone following me on Google Maps will get close to the dump site. It's within, I don't know, probably a maximum of 1 kilometre of here. This, I think, will be the last shot before I get there, to preserve battery and so as not to give it away too easily, just in case it's really a lot better than I remember and I want to film there again and again. Pottery pieces. Steep bit of hillside, latex glove, because, well, it's more of a reminder to keep being careful than a protection against the exceedingly slim possibility of catching COVID-19 here. Let's see what we can find. Melted bottle. James something man Todmorden. Hard to read. And I didn't think this was the sort of dump that would have been burned, being in the middle of the woods and all. ungraceful lurch up the hill a bit because I just spotted this, a brass oval. I can't see any signs on it suggesting it was part of a buckle, so maybe it was something in horse tackle. I'll take it. This slope slips out from under every footstep. Nice big shard of a transferware plate. It looks to have birds? Yes, looks like maybe parakeets. That's unexpected. I shall take it, and if it cleans up well and he wants it for his impressive bathroom project, give it to James of Find and Create. Looks like a nice, possibly intact pot there. Oh, that's a shame. Modern plastic Coke bottle, which I'll take, and sheep. Maybe I can do something crafty with it. On to the next patch, and I think that this was more or less the exact spot that my friend and I dug about in 30 years ago. It does look like somebody has expanded upon our very child-sized workings, and they've left some things that adult me might like. Not sure what this is. I'm glad I'm wearing a glove to touch it. I do love cobalt blue glass things, even in such a common thing as a Vicks Vapor Rub jar. Nice little sheer top, a gentle aqua colour. I will take that. And I like this shape of bottle. They look good with LED strings inside them, much better than the rusty dump water that's currently in residence. That one too. There's something down here. Oh, I remember my grandparents having cups like this. I don't think I'll take it. Can't think of anything I want to do with it. Well, it's a common bottle, but I'm pleasantly surprised at the condition of the bottles here. I do like the colour of these. I think they held something like shoe polish, or at least that's what the solidified remains resembled inside one of the first ones I found. A couple of meat paste jars sitting alongside some sheet asbestos, which isn't much of a danger as long as I leave it be. It was probably siding for old farm sheds, very common usage for it, but it's too brittle really, and sheds on the hills need a bit of flex to withstand the winds over the long term. Up the slope a bit, there's another bit of milk glass that looks to be one that I haven't found before. That's one more for my unintentional, not sure why it exists, collection of milk glass pots. Okay, seems to be a stand for something, though with a base that small and that tall, can't be. Is it glass? I think so. Any ideas, anyone? I see what looks to me to be a partial porcelain piggy bank. Interesting how parts of the glaze have gone. I wonder if that happens in a similar way to how the flaky type of iridescence happens to glass in dumps, glaze after all being a baked-on layer of glass. Seeing as these things were made to be broken, I'm surprised that this is the first recognisable piece of one I've ever found. Another HP sauce bottle. Ooh, that's a bit more interesting. Well, not exactly interesting, but more the sort of thing I like picking up and taking home with me, the brass bit of an old paraffin lamp. I do wonder when I find these if they were disposed of because they were made redundant or because the lamp broke. They usually look to be in good condition. Looks like a leg perhaps. No, it's melted glass. Looks to have been a jar. I've just remembered that 100 years ago, a lot of the woods that exist around here now were clear of woods then. Perhaps it wasn't such a dangerous proposition, burning the contents of this small dump. Toy car. Ooh, no, toy truck. An unusual one. 6 wheels with a curved open back. I don't think it's particularly old, maybe 1960s to 80s. There is writing on the bottom, I can't quite make it out, but I will be able to when I've cleaned it up. Cool, I'm happy with a little mystery. I mean, is the age of the truck anachronistic for the age of a dump site? See that? Cobalt blue glass rod. I still don't know for sure what these were for. The thickness of this one suggests a stirring stick, the length and colour do not. After all, chemical stirring sticks were pretty disposable. Why add the expense of cobalt colouring to its manufacture? And what would be stirred with it? There was a dye works not too far from here, but the people using this dump were predominantly farmers. Oh, wow. Okay, so is this entire bank of the hillside full of glass rods? That would be something. Not embedded much, and it doesn't look like a fresh break. Put it up, out of the way, and more embedded. And like usual, it's got a suggestion of melting at the end that was exposed. Now, viciously stab the hillside to check. Diggy diggy hole. Nope, doesn't look like a whole hillside full of glass rods, not even any more pieces. And if I had found that to be the case, I wouldn't have released a video of it now, because I'd have saved it for the next time I can film with Caroline and Phil of Let's Go with the Johnsons, and seeing if I could get permission to dig properly from the landowner. Oh well, next time. Big country kitchen platter. Is this another candidate for a bathroom floor in Holland? Or not really flat enough? It certainly makes a change from willow pattern. Fennings. Fever curer. And this is coming home with me. Well, lockdown address, my temporary home. Another piece of a cobalt blue glass rod. Beautiful colour. I'm hoping to make a wind chime with such things. Maybe this piece can become the central clanger? Is that the right word? Suitably sanded down, of course. No. And I don't want this jar particularly, but I did want to see how tight the root was gripping it. Too tight to extricate the jar, as it happens. No. And also no. I am sorry that I'm being so dismissive. It's a necessity of life for me in general, but especially so now. Where I'm staying is small, and there isn't the storage space for much. So even though there's a bounty here that some of you would like to take all of, I have to be selective. I do know that I'm spoiled, really. I'm very fortunate to live here, with mudlarking and bottle dump exploration being one of my hobbies. This is certainly something that many of you would take. I sadly can't. I have several like it already that I don't really use, and I can't easily go to the post office with it to sell it. But there are people who follow where I film, and someone might take it. And anything I film and don't take, I would be very glad to know if somebody takes it and gives it a new home, and maybe a new purpose, just as I hope to give to the things that I do take. That's an unusual bottle. Shame it has one more hole in it than it was designed to have. This one though, that's going to be a hard one to clean, but it does fall right within my taste range, and I can imagine maybe making a ship in a bottle with this one. I think I'd like to try one day. I've just spotted one of those strange little bottles. I find these quite often, rarely in such good condition though. Can anyone tell me what they held? And over here, something I've never found before. I mean, I've found bottles shaped like things, people, and anthropomorphized animal characters before, but in comparison to those, this is a thing of beauty, and I'm very happy with it, broken front foot and a belly full of soil and all. I don't know what I'll do with it. Suggestions are welcome. I have just spotted something brass sticking out of a leaf litter. Let's get it out. A bell maybe? Does seem to be half of a sphere-ish, and maybe has a clanger in this half? Let's see. That was easier than I expected. And no clanger. Probably not a bell then. Maybe it's a bicycle light, or any better ideas, anyone? I do sometimes wonder if it would be worth coming and sifting through the spoil pile of a bottle digger. They must miss quite a few small things. I doubt they missed this, but a bent piece of a Victorian gas pipe system, including a tap and a lamp attachment, probably wasn't to their taste. It's not historically significant, so I could harvest the fittings and give them to some steampunk costume makers and melt down the pipe into a new piece of artwork. I'm happy to take it. More glass rod. Oh, wow, nice, sizable piece. I am ever so curious about what they were. For all the kind suggestions, nobody, and not even Google image search, has been able to lead me to a picture of one quite like it. Looks almost skeletal, like a spinal bone. An electrical insulator. Nice bit of copper wire still attached. I'm always happy to find something I haven't found before, and this design is a new one to me. I like it. Bottle or jar. Jar, and more importantly, holly is prickly. Who knew? Oh, of course I'm going to find another thing that I've never found before, because if I'd said that that would happen, it wouldn't, and I didn't, so it did. Right, what's next? I see words. Ah, it's the Tykes motto, or half of it, which coincidentally is the Yorkshire motto. Hear all, see all, say nout, eat all, sup all, pay nout, and if ever the does out for nout, allers do it for this hen. Thankfully there's very few Yorkshire men and women who treat the motto as a serious roadmap of how to live. I wonder if Ayn Rand ever heard the motto and mistakenly felt inspired by Yorkshire people. It's a thing. A horse, I think. A big chunk of cast aluminium in the shape of a horse, with the legs of a human alongside. Big head, small body, because even though it's missing its back end, that back leg looks too small and too far forward. I'm not sure I like it, not sure I'll take it. Missing so much, and so hard to repair or augment it. But I think that I have exhausted the eyes-only possibilities of this site, so if I come back here, and I would like to, it'll be because I've managed to get permission to dig a bit, which seems unlikely really because I don't know who to ask yet. Now, down to the valley bottom and along it for a bit. It's so long since I've done any beachcombing. No, that's an acorn cup. This is the thing that caught my eye. Maybe a pipkin leg. That would be cool. And yes, my glove is now torn. I am still being very careful though. Brass, probably a sleeve round the weak point of a joint between a handle and a tool head, like a shovel or a garden fork. Some wire. I'll grab that on the way back. This beach is not a pretty place, but it does get inundated with water that flows through valleys that have been inhabited since at least the Bronze Age, and an old town, which has been on both sides of the border between Yorkshire and Lancashire for various portions of its history, is currently in West Yorkshire. In the past, I have found here glass rods, copper, glass and volcanic bottle stoppers, pottery, bones and rubbish. A bit of cobalt blue glass rod, a bit too broken though, even for me. But is that a coin there? No, but a copper disc, a tag probably, or jewellery perhaps. Whoa. Now this is something that risks getting me a bit excited. Irregular shaped copper pocket, or 2 layers anyway, with a pattern on one side. Probably quite modern, but not going to clean it off. Going to take it home carefully and treat it as if it might be something very old, at least until I know for sure. I am hopeful that there might be things to find on this corner stretch. It's where 2 streams of a river rejoin each other, and it can become quite the maelstrom in times of flood. Icy copper. Part of an old TV yoke, I think. I don't think I can get to the beaches over there in my current attire while maintaining all due carefulness. Perhaps another day. I was just about to call it a day when I spotted this. It's worn, it's chipped, it's covered in algae, but finding a glass bottle stopper always brings me a little smile. Here ends the day's filming. And here starts the roundup, first one since lockdown started. And because I'm not at home and the flat I'm staying in hasn't got a suitably bright windowsill to line everything up on, which doesn't make my location instantly recognisable to anyone who knows the village, I'm filming this outside in a public place. First, these few things are what I found in the previous very short video, where I explored a suspected dump site up a cascade of mini waterfalls, only to find out that probably everything that was dumped was at the bottom. I like the bottles I took, and the stoneware bottle I took does in fact seem to be an ink bottle, though it is a different shape from any I've found or seen before. The ink crusted on the inside convinces me. I did bring this one home on the basis that it looks scratched up and a good candidate to practice polishing up the outside of scratch bottles with wet and dry A.S.M.R paper, but it looks a whole lot better cleaned up. So maybe I'll try to polish out the few minor scuffs and the very slight chip in the lip, or maybe I'll just have it as a vase for one of the leafing basil stalks I'm trying to root. And now the childhood dump site visit. It was a fun day. The nostalgia of it faded quickly into the thrill of the hunt, and I have missed mudlarking and bottle dump exploration so much in the nearly 3 months of lockdown so far. I found some things I like, as well as some things I can use and things that other people will like. The bottles are mostly for me. The frog bottle, though, broken as it is, already has 2 other people wanting it. My friend Davey, who appeared briefly in a video when I visited his forge, would like it to sit in his fish tank, and my girlfriend would like it to be a companion to another frog-shaped thing I found in the rivers. That one is plastic and sits on a shelf in her bathroom. The plate pottery is for either me or James if he wants it. I do have a plan for a craft project now, but it's a long way off, and his project is in progress. The partial animal pieces may well get new female limbs and bodies eventually, if and when craft project inspiration strikes. It wouldn't ever be a restoration with me, more a reimagining. I'm sad to report that somewhere along the way the possible pipkin leg went missing, possibly still on the beach, so I may go back. In the meantime, I'll console myself with the thought that it was absolutely definitely just a part of a teapot handle, common as anything. I always like finding old toys. It's partly the imagined play of long ago and the ghost of stories that might be part of its history, and partly a reminder of myself playing with similar toys. And yes, this entire hobby is pretty much an unapologetic throwback or recapturing of what I enjoyed doing as a child. This is a Lesney number 63 Foamite crash tender truck. I don't think I ever played airplane crash response games as a child. I have found glass rods before, but finding them in such a quantity in this primarily farming community related dump calls into question all of the hypothetical origins of them that I had. New ideas, anyone? I do now at least have a craft project idea for what to do with them. The brass things and copper wire will find a new life one day, either in steampunk costumes or melted down into art projects. I'm so grateful to the people who've kindly given so that I might buy a forge. I have it waiting for me at home. Not my temporary lockdown residence, but I do need to get some safety gear before trying to do anything with it, and a full propane bottle, which isn't going to happen for a while yet. I don't know what to do with the aluminium horse. I don't think I could repair it. It's in terrible condition and kinda crumbling. I brought it back because I thought I, or you, might have an idea, but I think, barring any spectacular ideas, it's going to end up in the recycling. And last but by no means least, the strange copper medallion. I don't know what to think of this. It doesn't exactly look to be just a folded over sheet of copper with some hammered in pattern detailing. It looks like there's a solder joint along the edges, and it was probably made to look like a solid disc. The pattern isn't 100% regular in its spacings. The bumps are, of course, stamped into thin copper from the other side, so the stamp marks at least are regular, but it doesn't quite look like one stamp for the whole pattern, rather smaller stamps carefully moved along the line. I could be mistaken. There is no hole in it suggesting it was a necklace, no obvious sign that it was once attached to anything else. It doesn't seem consistent with a hollow, ovoid ball that's been squashed. I do not have any clue suggesting how old it might be, except that it doesn't look totally modern, and I think that if it was as old as some of the Celtic or Bronze Age sites on the hills around where I found it, it's hard to imagine there'd be anything much left of it. One for the portable antiquities scheme to take a look at, I think, though if you think you know what it is or was, then please do say so. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon to get notifications, comment, share, donate, buy or ignore, whatever you're comfortable with and enthusiastic to do. I hope you're all keeping safe and well, helping other people if you can and if it's safe to do so. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.